Hi there. Welcome to another episode of Tinnitist TV. Today, I am talking with Brandon Hardesty of Bumpin Uglies. Now, he's no fool. He knows his band does not have the greatest name. Then again, neither do Foo Fighters, and they're doing okay. You could say the same for Bumpin Uglies. For 15 years, singer-guitarist Hardesty and his hard-touring Annapolis outfit have been serving up jammy reggae rock and ska-punk for a loyal and steadily increasing fan base. For their latest release, Underdog, the Acoustic Sessions, Hardesty offers stripped-down renditions of hits and highlights from their 7 albums, along with the new title track and other recent creations. During a rare break from touring, Hardesty zoomed in to talk about balancing art and entertainment, being the boss, regretting that band name, and plenty more. Enjoy. All right, Brandon Hardesty, it is nice to meet you, sir.
Nice to meet you as well. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, my pleasure, my pleasure. You are, of course, the frontman and founder, co-founder of Bumpin Uglies from, is it still Annapolis, Maryland? Is that still where you guys are based?
Yep, lived there my whole life.
So does Maryland have like a big reggae ska scene, or were you guys kind of the lone men, out there doing this?
Not really, no. I mean, there's definitely been like bands that have come up over the years that have done it, but it was more on just like a local scale, like guys that like kind of appreciated the sound, and were like influenced by a lot of the same bands that I was influenced from, but then they never really like got out of Maryland. But like the scene, like quote unquote, that's kind of like grown into like a bigger national thing is way more based out of Southern California. But
Yeah.
at this point, really the only other band that was like really doing it around Maryland is our friends Valley, who were kind of like an older brother band for us when we started off. They took us on the road a lot and just taught us a lot. Their singer is actually the guy that produces a lot of our records, or all of our records at this point. But other than that, it's really just been the two of us, and then there's a whole new kind of generation of bands that are coming up. Kind of now, I don't want to say following in our footsteps, but just kind of doing the same thing we're doing, but a few steps back.
Right. So given that this wasn't something that, you would grow up seeing bands in your neighborhood doing this, or how did you come across this sound and this style of music? What got you into this?
I think I mean a lot of it. I grew up more into like singer songwriters, and kind of acoustic music. And then, it was really around the time I was in high school, I got into Sublime because I was getting, I started experimenting with like drinking and drugs and whatnot. And
Sublime were your gateway drug to ska punk, basically?
yeah, that was very much kind of what led to that. And I was just really into Sublime at the time, and everyone called it reggae, but like it's more, I consider it more hip hop and punk rock than anything. Like a lot of those drums, it's they're not doing like the traditional reggae drum beats. It's more like hip hop beats.
Right.
And I was just really into that at the time, and that was around the time I started this band. It was my first band that I was in.
Really? You've never been in another band?
I've never been in another band. I started playing guitar when I was 17, and then I started the band at 21. Around the time I started hitting open mics, and I was just working in a restaurant. I didn't really know what I wanted to do with my life, and I was just having a lot of fun with this. I figured it was as good a thing to do as any. It made me really happy, and I enjoyed doing it. And I was at that point in my life where I was like, really looking for something to do, and it just, I found a kind of a sense of purpose in music, I guess.
Right. So aside from restaurant jobs, have you ever had like a job aside from being a musician?
No, just like jobs like growing up, like like retail and other stuff like that.
Well, that's great. I mean, that to me is the definition of success.
Yeah, I mean, I love it. Aside from like the creative side of it, of like making music for a living and playing music for a living, like being self-employed is awesome. It's exhausting too, but at this point, I think it takes a certain type of personality to do it, but it's definitely something that I enjoy, and I appreciate the freedom. And I don't know, I would do whatever I had to do to provide, but I definitely like being self-employed.
For sure. Did you get that work ethic from your parents, you figure?
For sure. Yeah. I grew up in my dad owned restaurants growing up. So like it's very much like raised with that entrepreneurial spirit and just like the idea of like running a business and like understanding every facet of a business and just seeing kind of like he definitely had like an unhealthy work ethic where it was very obsessive and like I have it too. It's like a blessing and a curse where it's like I'm very very much obsessed with what I do, but you kind of have to have that to do this kind of thing. And that's why I say it's like it's not for everyone, but like if you have that kind of that drive and mentality, it's a great way to live, I think.
Yeah, but I also think a lot of people would probably go, ah, come on, you're in a ska-punk band. Your work ethic is good, and but not necessarily that unhealthy. You know what I mean? You're a
Yeah,
little
well, no,
relaxed than your dad, I'm guessing.
I for sure. Like I love what I do, but it's just like anything else. Like it's I mean, making a living out of playing music is not easy at all. I would argue it's one of the hardest things to do. I mean, restaurants are a very hard thing to do too. Like they have such crazy failure rate, but that was the thing that kind of lit his torch. And like I love it. Like I love what I do, and that said, like I'm willing to do whatever I have to do to make it work.
For sure. And in a way, they're kind of similar things in the sense of, your clientele kind of comes in for an evening, and you have to put together this, for you it's a set list, for him it's a menu. You have to have customer service. So they're almost similar enterprises in a way, restauranting and playing music.
Oh, absolutely. They're both very social. There's like a level of showmanship and like hosting, kind of like entertaining. Like it's all about like in both sides of it, you're creating the party. Like you're kind of creating this experience for people to come out and take part of.
Yeah, exactly. And I find that interesting that you mentioned that you kind of grew up on singer-songwriters, because I hear a lot of that in your songwriting. I mean, whereas a lot of the other bands in your genre might be sort of more concerned with the groove and the hook and those sort of elements of it, which is not to say those things aren't in your songs too, but especially in your lyrics, it's very much a singer-songwriter approach to the way you make music, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's once again, this is my first band, and I didn't really know what I was doing getting into it, and it's been to our detriment, honestly, because it's like it's held us back in our genre just because there really isn't a huge emphasis or focus or appreciation even for songwriting in this genre. It's definitely way more about like it's way more about just kind of like the show and the party and the vibe, which is like, I tried it. That's something I didn't really even care about like until like we got to a certain level and we were playing big enough shows where I realized like, okay, that's like something, that's like every show is, you got to treat every show like it's Friday night, like that's people's Friday night. They're coming out to do something. So like you want to provide that experience. But for me, it's like, as a songwriter, I was always like way more into the lyrics and stuff. So it's a matter of trying to like, like write songs that mean something, that have a point, that are like saying a story, that have a reason to exist. But then at the same time, because we're in this genre, trying to deliver it sonically in a way that's going to make people dance and have a good time.
Yeah, I mean, have you looked to specific artists to kind of learn that entertainment part of it and incorporate
Yeah,
it?
oh, for sure. Like I'm my dad always told me when he was growing up, because like my dad, like when he was doing his restaurants, like I remember being a kid and we would go to other restaurants all the time. Like that was just something he did. He would just go to restaurants and look at the menu. He would always steal the menu too and take it home with him if there was something he would like. And he always told me, he's like, son, imitation is the greatest form of flattery. That
Yeah.
was just something
So
he
who
loved.
are you imitating?
I mean, really anyone that's doing better than me, like Ballyhoo was a huge influence of me, of like how to like put on a show, like watching these guys. Cause like for me, like the showman side of it was very unnatural, like I've always been good at like talking to people and like social, but like getting up on a stage and it wasn't something that was like a natural thing for me. So like I would watch Howie and Ballyhoo and like how they went up and they put on a show, and then they like engage the audience and get them to do stuff with their hands and like do call and response shit and just like all these things that made it more than just going up and playing songs. Like I would watch them and then eventually I would like get big enough balls to try and do something myself, and then it's like you get the audience doing it. You're like, oh wow, that worked. So like anytime, like really like anyone who's doing something like bigger than me, like Revolution, Slightly Stupid are two of the bigger bands in our genres that are playing amphitheaters, so you see them do these huge like engaging things with the crowds, and eventually you're like, okay, I could incorporate that into this song, and then you just try it out, and if it works, it works. And then eventually like that, it's that's like an intoxicating feeling in itself, like like getting a crowd to like you're commanding a crowd. So
Sure.
you develop a taste and appreciation for that as well.
I mean, it's also got to be interesting in the sense of, again, because so many of your songs are personal, your lyrics are very diaristic, very soul bearing a lot of times, so you're up there singing these songs that are really, I think personal and revealing and reflective, and that you've labored over, and you kind of have to balance that with the notion that, oh yeah, but you're singing this for 3,000 people who really don't give a shit about your pain. They're just there because they want to party, right?
Well, and so that's the thing is like a lot of times we don't do those songs. Like I'm a big believer of I'm gonna write everything that I want to write, and I'm gonna record everything that I think is worth recording. I'm gonna be very selective with the releases, like how I do it. Like I want to release everything eventually, but like when we're doing a big record that we're investing like money into the release cycle, and we're really trying to swing for it and make a level up, I'm going to be selective with the songs that I put on that release that I'm trying to put out there, because like while I love the folk stuff, that's not like what hits the most for us. It's like kind of the catchy reggae stuff, and I love writing that, I love making that kind of stuff, but that's the stuff when we're doing a big release, that's the foot I'm going to put forward. But, I am eventually going to record and release the other stuff too. But like that said, when it comes time to go on tour, usually like the songs that we play are like the upbeat party songs. So we don't, and I tried that. Like I would do that back in the day. I would play like the sad ballads and stuff, but it just doesn't resonate. It doesn't resonate with the audience, because like, it's just not I'm a big believer that you got to play to the room. Right. So like, I've gone out and I've done singer-songwriter tours too, where I'll play in a listening room, and that's when I do all the ballads, but I don't try to like shove the slow stuff down people's throat if it's not the right audience, not the right time for it. Something we've started doing in the last year and a half is we do a VIP experience where people can, it's like $100, and they come in before doors. They get a picture with the band, they get like this little bag, and then I do a 30-minute acoustic set. So like that's been a really cool opportunity for me to do some of these more tender, soft songs, because it's appropriate. People are like not talking, and they're very intensive, and that's actually like what a lot of the requests are, and it's a good place to do it. But yeah, that's kind of how.
Yeah. I mean, and that I think is a good time to kind of start talking about your next release, which is going to be Underdog, the Acoustic Sessions. So that seems to tie in a lot with what we're talking about here. Where did the idea come from? Was it based on these pre-concert listening things that you decided, what, I should just record some of these songs, and put out an acoustic album?
It's just something that I did for the first time back in 2012. Like I've always been a big fan of acoustic music. I write everything on the acoustic guitar, and our second record, it was an acoustic record that we were dead broke at the time, and I just wanted to get some more content out. So I booked some time in a studio, and I recorded it in 2 hours. And that record was called Go Folk Yourself. And for a long time, it was our most successful record, because people, they just appreciate the acoustic music. And, my philosophy on songwriting has always been like, if a song can't exist, just in an acoustic format with either an acoustic guitar or piano and the lyric, then it's not a good song. So that's kind of always how I've written it. And, I think that shows through the record, and people appreciate it. But that said, it's like, that record in particular, because I was pressed for time and I was pressed for money, like I said, I recorded it in 2 hours, and I can't even listen to it at this point because a lot of the takes, since it was recorded live, I don't like how I played it. I don't like how I sang it. I was a much worse musician at the time. Whereas with this one, I'm in a way different place financially and just with time and whatnot. I did it during COVID. So I did the record over the course of 3 sessions. I still recorded it live, but I went in, I played 20 songs in one session. I went back and I listened to the songs and I was like, oh, okay, so I like these 7 songs. But then I went back and did another session and did another 20 songs. And, eventually that's how I came up with the record. But I'm very pleased with all the takes. I think they're going to hold up. I think it's something I'm going to be proud of in 30 years. And I love just the vibe of like the live acoustic thing. Cause I really think you kind of like lose something when you multi-track, it's just lose a lot of the like passion in it.
Oh yeah, that's why Bruce Springsteen's Nebraska is what it is, right?
Yeah, man. I always use Hank Williams as a comparison because like a lot of those old Hank Williams records are live,
Yeah. So how did you decide on the tracks for this? Because it's kind of a mix of it's songs, some songs from your previous albums, some new stuff, but the older stuff, these aren't what I think most people would think of as your most popular songs or your most streamed songs or your quote unquote hits. So how did you kind of decide which ones that you wanted to record?
Well, I just wanted to do ones that were interesting in an acoustic format it would be like a fresh listen. I didn't want to I wasn't like looking for streams. I just wanted to do stuff that would be a cool listen. So like, I play all these songs acoustic, and a lot of them have like a whole different vibe when you do it acoustic. Like there's just like interesting things that are going on with the guitar work or whatever. So those are the ones I started with. And then, there was a nice mixture of new songs too that I wanted to get in there. And then there were some songs too that I've previously recorded and released under my own name that I wanted to put under the Uglies catalog just to give them a chance to be like listened to by the more casual listener that might not have known they existed.
So are the new tracks eventually you think going to be turned into full band tracks, or are they going to just stay in this
Definitely. So we already have we're already recording a lot of the full band stuff that'll probably get dropped in 2024. But like Spinning Plates, we have a full band version of that just straight sounds like just like a honky tonk, like kind of like Western reggae song. It's cool. Like I can't wait to play it. Underdog sounds like it's just a Ska-Punk song with like a reggae breakdown, which is really cool. Yeah, definitely gonna do full. Everything that sounds like it should be full band will eventually be full band. Like the ballad stuff, like Jerry's song, that'll probably just exist in that format. Yeah.
All right. And I got to tell you, I love the title track. I mean, it's because again, it's very it's like you just sat down and wrote out your diary almost. Talking about your life and what you do, and the philosophy of what you do and being in a band and the pros and cons of that. Is that therapeutic for you? I think it must be nice to get some of that stuff off your chest in that way.
Oh, it's super cathartic. Yeah, I mean, like I always joke around that like those kind of songs aren't going to be the ones that make me any money, but like they also resonate the best with like the diehard fans because they're just so honest and earnest. I feel like the people who are like really really into music appreciate those kind of songs because it's just there's not a lot of it. Like there's so much music nowadays, it's like written just to succeed as opposed to like being like coming from a place of honesty. And like as a fan of songwriting, that's like what I love the most is when I hear a song that like really conveys an emotion.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely those kind of songs are very much therapeutic for me to write.
Yeah, and it also is a little bit of biting the hand too. I mean, and you know, there's a lot of anti-music business stuff in there.
Yeah, but the hand's never done anything for me either. So it's like I'm 37. I got kids. I got a mortgage, and I tried to please the hand for the first 15 years of my music career, and then that's kind of like what that song is about, man. The hand's never going to do anything for me at this point, I've realized. But I've gotten to a point in my career where I'm selling tickets, and like my band's selling tickets. Like we have a really cool fan base that supports us through buying merch, and we're doing it on our terms. So it's like I don't really need the hand at this point. I'm happy. It's more important to me to make music the way I want to make music, and like just operate the way I want to operate, than try to please some industry. Because like I don't know, in my opinion, the industry doesn't really appreciate individuality or uniqueness. They just want to create something that's going to be safe and make money so they can make money off of it. And that's just not what I'm about. I want to make money doing what I want to do, and it just is what it is.
Yeah, yeah. When you write a lot of songs about your own life and what you're going through and all that, does that does that kind of slow you down in the sense of, do you have to kind of wait for something to happen to write a song, or are you just able to sort of turn it on and do you write every day? Are you prolific?
No, so the way I can't write any day anymore, every day anymore, just because of my schedule. Like I got two young kids. I'm on tour like about half the year. I'm just like, for me to get into that headspace, it just like doesn't work like that. But I'm always getting ideas.
Hmm.
Like I'm very much like a student of like John Prine and like Johnny Cash, where I'm trying to write like blue collar, everyman kind of things. And so like when I'm out like living, that's when I get my best ideas. But I write them down in my notepad on my phone. Like if I get a hook idea or just something that would make a good idea for a song. And then what I do is, the last few years we've taken off for the winter, so I transitioned back into being dad, and I'm just home. And when I'm doing that, sorry, you still there? Okay. When I'm in that mode, I just treat songwriting like a job. So I wake up every morning and I make a pot of coffee, and I look at my notepad and I'm like, okay, I'm going to write this song today, like whether or not I'm inspired. And I just make myself write that song. And like every so often I'll write a dud, but even if you write a dud, there's like one or two lines that you can eventually use down the road or whatever. But like the biggest thing is just treating it like a craft.
How often do you get that sort of chill where you go, oh, this is really good, like this is special?
Um, Man, not as often as you'd like,
Sure. But then if you
but I
do it
mean,
all the time, you'd start to doubt it, right? Like if you thought everything that you wrote was genius, that's pretty much a sign it isn't anyway. So it should happen sort of infrequently, right?
yeah, and the thing is though, is that like my radar's always on. Like I know when I wrote a like Underdog, I knew Underdog was special, but I
Yeah,
also knew it wasn't going to make me any money. Um,
sure.
and then like Island Time, like when I wrote that, I knew it was catchy as shit and it was going to make me some money. You know what I mean? Like, but I'm still proud of it too. Like I still think it's like clever. I feel like I have like a pretty good radar for songwriting. A lot of, I don't know. And then a lot of times, like I'll write a song. I'm like, oh, that's clever and cool, but that's not going to move the needle. And sometimes you're surprised, but for the most part, I'm saying I'm pretty much on the nose with it more often than not.
Do you throw away a lot?
I probably throw away like one in every 20. So I wrote 30 songs this last winter when I was writing, and there's two that I got to take back to the drawing board. I still think they're good ideas. I think I just missed the mark when I was writing them.
That's a pretty good average, though. I mean, there's a lot of people who, write 20 to get one.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I for me, songwriting is like it's really like one of the only things I'm good at. It's like I've been doing it for for close to 20 years at this point, and I don't know. I don't think, like you said, prolific. I definitely don't think I'm prolific. I think I've just been doing it for a long time, and I just, I've gotten to a point where I'm pretty good at expressing like thoughts that are in my mind. I think I have a good sense of humor, so that makes it like the songs like more interesting, But I don't know. I just don't think songwriting's that hard if you think about it from like a pragmatic philosophy, and it's just something that I've been doing for a long time. So I don't know. I'm just getting better at it, and it feels good to do it.
You ever collaborate with people or go to like songwriting camps or any of those other things to kind of, change up the way you're doing things?
No, I do like on the production side. I collaborate with Howie. Like this first, so like for this session, this is the first time we've done this. Where like I have these demos, and we did a pre-production session to like kind of flesh out the arrangements for the band, which is cool because like usually like I'll get together with my band first and we put together demos, and then we just go into the studio and any tweaks we kind of make there. So it's like that was like an interesting process. Like I definitely like collaborating with people on the musical side of it. But I've never done the songwriting thing. I'm not to say I wouldn't do it. I just like I don't like the idea of like working with co-writers, and I don't like the idea of just doing it from a business perspective. It would have to be something that was like organic and like there was like mutual respect, and
Is there anybody you can think of in that regard that you would want to write with or record with or collaborate with?
I mean, like I want to do some songs with Slightly Stupid. I would love that, like more in a sense of like, I have a song that I just wrote recently that I really want to, I haven't pitched it to him yet, but I really want to get Miles on. There is a band called the Skints, and this is more of just like I want to have them like write verses for songs that I've written, kind of thing. The Skints, I would love to do something with. Revolution, I would love to do something with. Atmosphere, I would love to do a song with Atmosphere. And it could be cool to do. It might be interesting down the road to do something like that with Citizen Cope, where we like write a song together or something. Because I've always really liked his thing. I'm actually, there's this band called Little Stranger that's coming up. That it's like a hip hop duo, but they produce all the music themselves, and then they're both like rapping and singing on it, and it really makes for like super cool songs because it's just totally, I feel like every time you involve someone else in the creative process, whether it's like producing the music or like engineering it or whatever, there's almost like a breakdown in communication because you can't like totally, like you have to be able to communicate like exactly to be able to get what you're saying across. So like anytime you find someone who can like do all that shit themselves, I feel like it just makes for like a way better song if they're good at what they do. And these dudes are just so good at what they do. So I'm doing some production with them in towards the end of October because they live down in Charleston. We're going to be on tour down there, and I got a few days off. So I'm really excited about that because I think we're going to be able to come up with some cool stuff working together like that. But other than that, yeah, I can't really think of anyone I would want to just like sit down with like a couple guitars and write. Actually, no, that's a lie. Later in life, my buddy Joey Harcum is like one of the best songwriters I know. And I'd love to do an album where we just both sit down and write an album together. But we're both so busy. I don't know how we're ever going to have time to do that.
Yeah, well, exactly. I was just going to say, you've got another, I mean, it's broken up into a couple weeks here, couple weeks there, but it's a pretty long run that you've got coming up all the way from a couple of weeks from now, all the way through November, right? On the road.
Yeah, it's going to be a long fall.
Yeah, that's a long fall. What's the trick to, staying sane and keeping it together when you're out there that long?
Just communication between everyone and mutual respect, which is harder than it seems sometimes, because it's like everyone has different needs, different standard. Yeah, everyone has different needs and different standards, so it's just a matter of like anytime you're feeling disrespected by someone else, like letting them know instead of internalizing that and allowing resentment to feel. It really is a lot of the same disciplines and rules that apply to having a healthy marriage. You just got to communicate.
Yeah, but I would think, I know a band is like a 5 or 6 way marriage or whatever, but at the same time, the position you're in, I would assume that to some degree, you have to be, I don't know, the boss.
Very much so. Yeah. Like that's a role that I've had to like really step into over the last 4 or 5 years, and it wasn't something I was super comfortable with because I just wanted to be everybody's friend.
Right.
But like as the operation has grown, at this point we have like 10 something people that are traveling around with it. So it's like if there's not some sense of order, then the inmates end up running the asylum, and it's just like there's got to be a boss. So it's like that's just it. I got to be the boss, and it means I got to be a dick sometimes, but it just is what it is. Like it's more important to like have like that order and like I said, like making sure everyone's like being respectful to each other and everyone feels like valued, just or as much as you can, because it's like it's you're never going to make everyone happy all the time, but like almost like it's got to worry about just like the greater good and the greater sense of morale.
Who's easier
Once
to
again, it's like you were talking about Springsteen earlier, and it's like the deeper I get into this shit, the more I relate to Springsteen and with the whole the boss thing. You know what I mean? Like I really, really understand it because it's like
Yeah, it wasn't just a cool nickname. It was literally,
yeah,
boss is coming. Everybody be good,
and it's like it's just and that's the thing too. The further you get up the food chain and the higher the stakes are, it's like the more bullshit there is that you got to deal with. So it's like someone's got to do it, and it's like it just is what it is.
Who's easier to control, your kids or 10 people in a ska-punk tour?
Oh, my kids for sure.
Yeah, I bet. Given the amount of miles you guys put on the road, you don't seem to come up here to Canada where I live very often. What's the deal with that?
We've wanted to, man. It's just like it's hard with customs and everything and the border. Like
it's a hassle.
Yeah, I've wanted to. The thing is we're already on the road more than we would like to be. Like, so it's hard to like introduce new markets. Like eventually, when we get down to the point where we can cut out a lot of these like C markets and whatever, like I'd love to introduce Canada. I'd love to go over to Europe. I'd love to do Australia. I have been thinking a lot about flying up and kind of hitting like, maybe like Toronto and then like Vancouver, so like in Eastern and Western Canada. Just doing that acoustic, just kind of like see what the market is like for us. But it's just one of those things. It's like I said, it's just we're already on the road so much. It's been hard to find the time to do that.
And you do know weed is legal up here, right?
Yeah, man. We just legalized it in Maryland too.
Oh, did you? Congratulations on that.
July 1st. Yeah, I've been joking with it. It literally changes nothing in my life because it's like I've always never been concerned with the legality of it. It's just, it just is what it is, but it's nice to not have that, to have the, like the social stigma of it kind of reevaluate.
All right. Yeah, fair enough. So are you already, it sounds like you guys already have the next studio album pretty much on the go, right?
Yeah, it's already pretty much tracked. And then like I said, all these songs I recorded last winter, the plan is just to start recording those in December. Like I just got to finish tracking all this other stuff. The plan is to have everything tracked and like getting mixed before we leave on this fall tour.
Oh,
and
wow.
then so that would be like the 2024 release. And then all this other stuff will be like 2025, I guess.
Right. And will the next album kind of be, keeping in line with what people know and expect and love from you, or are you going to take a few twists and turns?
So this record is like a collection of songs that were held back from other records, and it just started piling up, it was the course of like 4 releases where we had all these extra songs, and eventually it's like, man, we got to get this stuff out, and then it's a combination of that and then like newer stuff that I've written. So like there's some like really, really catchy, good songs on there that I'm proud of. And then there's some like really weird songs that just like didn't make sense to put on with the other releases. So it's like, it's going to be it's not going to be like what I was describing, where it's like that big like swing for the fences release.
Right.
But it's what I was talking about. Like I wrote all these songs, I'm proud of them, and I'm going to get them out. Like I want to get them out and let people hear them. Just got to be creative with how we kind of package it, because like sometimes the weirder stuff turns people off. But
Depends
I
on
think
how
what we'll do.
you sell it, right? All left turns, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
So I gotta ask, 15 years into this now, do you regret that band name?
100%. If I could go back and change it, I would. But like, I'm also very principled, where I don't think I should have to, and that's why I never have. I
No,
hate it.
why
Like
would you?
I
Yeah.
hate it. It's made my whole existence so much harder than it should be. But once again, the principle of it, like, I'm very much like, you shouldn't judge a book by its cover. And like, it's a stupid band name, but I think the songs are great, and I think we rip live. So if someone misses out on us because it's a dumb band name, then so be it. But I mean, we've lost out on tours, we've lost out on festivals, we lost out. There's just people that don't want to work with us because of
Really?
the band name, and
Wow.
it definitely makes the chip on my shoulder a little bit bigger. But it makes for better songs too. So, but
And
yeah, in a word, hell yeah, I regret it.
well, hey, I mean, Dave Grohl has regretted Foo Fighters for like 20 years, so you're in good
Yeah,
company.
yeah, that's the kind of way I see it. And once again, it's like, we're making a living, so.
Totally. Yeah, no, like I said before, what you are doing to me is the definition of success. Because I've talked to people at all levels, as you have, I'm sure, over the years. You talk to people at all levels in this business, whether they're guys who are just starting out and have nothing but a couple of songs and a dream, or you talk to people who are right at the top of the ladder, who have been doing it for decades and are miserable, doing
Yeah.
it, to treat it like a grind. Excuse me. But for me, out of all those scenarios, the best ones I ever come across are people like you who do it, are their own boss, are able to pay their bills, make a living, sustain themselves, and have a life. Like you can go to the store, or take your kids out to an amusement park, or go to the movies, and have a normal human existence without having your job kind of destroy the other half of your life.
Yeah, so like some bands that are like really inspiring to me, and like I would love to have lives like that, like get my career to that point. Or like, I don't know if you ever heard of Lucero or Frank Turner.
Sure. Well, yeah, love Frank Turner. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, well, Frank Turner is just like a prolific. I would love to write some songs with Frank Turner. Actually, like going back to that previous question, I'm a huge fan of Frank Turner. But Lucero too. It's like, neither, like, Frank Turner's doing way better than Lucero, so like maybe I'll focus on Lucero. But when they tour, they're on a bus, but they're playing bigger clubs, and they're all just like older. They're not like trying to do the pretty boy thing, but they make the kind of music they want to make. They're steady with it. They seem to all be comfortable. They play Red Rocks, they play the Caverns, they play Cool Rooms, but like they're an under the radar band, but they're making a living, and they seem happy with it. And
Oh, yeah.
I'd love to.
Ben from Lucero and Frank, they can also just walk down the street. They
Yeah,
can walk out the front of
exactly.
the, like, I bet you if you stood outside the front, even of some of your gigs, somebody would try and, sell you a ticket.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I definitely like yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, I mean, again, I think it's always about balance. It's like everything, right? Like you want to be successful so that you can provide for your family and reap the rewards of all the work you do. But at the same time, there's no point in having the mansion if you have to be on the road for 11 months of the year to pay for it. And if you can't walk down the street without getting mobbed,
Yeah,
which sounds great when, and I think it sounds cool until it happens to you, right?
for sure. Yeah, I mean, I always tell everyone, like, if you gave me $1 billion tomorrow, nothing in my life would change other than I wouldn't have a mortgage, and then when I go on tour, it would be a little more comfortable.
Yeah, exactly. So you're doing it the right way. And I will, talking about balance, I will let you get on with the rest of your day and enjoy your time off there before you have to go back to work. So thanks so much for your time today. I really appreciate it. And thanks for all the music, and come up to Canada sometime.
we'll make it happen for sure.
All right, brother. Take care. We'll see you somewhere.
Thanks. See ya.
Bye.